In Q1, revenue grew 31%. Commercial revenue grew 54%, accelerating for the fifth quarter in a row. US commercial revenue grew 136%, also accelerating for the fifth quarter in a row. We added 40 new customers, growing customer count 86% year over year. We had GAAP operating margins of negative 9% versus negative 33% a year ago, reflecting our continued march to GAAP profitability. And we had adjusted operating margins of 26%. We have been building our company and our products for this world. The stability on which so many models that purported to explain the world rely, it's vanished, if it ever existed at all. We have built a company for the world that is, not the world that ought to be. And it is instability, not its absence, that makes our software all the more essential. As our customers confront an extraordinarily significant and rapidly escalating conflict in Eastern Europe, runaway inflation, disrupted supply chains, and a new wave of refugees, our products have become more essential than ever. At our last earnings call, the invasion of Ukraine had not yet occurred. From the moment those tanks rolled into Ukraine, we have been delivering our capabilities to the front. We have been continuously shipping innovation over the course of the conflict to provide Western militaries the software that they need to fulfill their missions. Every product and capability has been employed by our customers, from Gaia, Gotham, Edge AI, Foundry, Nexus Peering, and more. And the newest of them, Meta Constellation, continues to deliver value in making space-based collection truly operational, delivering significant mission outcomes. And we have been working across Poland, Lithuania, the UK, and other nations to power refugee relief operations. Our software is powering the World Food Programme's Ukraine response, getting aid as far east as possible. And across our commercial customers, we are powering resilience to a whole new set of supply chain shocks. Real-world events are driving enormous and long-term opportunities for growth. We are on the front lines, seeing what needs to exist, hearing from commanders and users, and building now what is needed and what will power the next decade of US and allied defense programs. We did this a decade ago in Afghanistan with Nexus Peering. We did this a year ago with Meta Constellation, whose impact writes headlines in the New York Times. And we will continue building the software of the future, ramping our investment heavily across the business in the face of these Palantir-shaped macro conditions. This focus has delivered tremendous depth in our R&D and our full-stack IP. We now have this opportunity, in addition to releasing new products at pace, to bring an increasing amount of that innovation to market. And that's what you're seeing with Apollo. We believe Apollo will fundamentally change how software is deployed, anticipating a future where multi-tenant SaaS is dead and is clearly dying in the present, a trend that is accelerated by geopolitical events. Every software company will need to be able to deploy their software into their customers' environments, requiring them to manage fleets of heterogeneous environments across public clouds, on-premises, sovereign clouds, and growing data jurisdictional boundaries, and to do all of that seamlessly. Apollo will take customers from a world of continuous deployment to autonomous deployment. And we have been pleased with the market reception to Apollo in our demo day event, really being received by a completely new buying audience. We are also now offering Nexus Peering as a standalone capability for customers to build their own data fabrics on top of. Over a decade ago, we pioneered a technology that enabled Gotham to reason about the causality of a distributed system of many, many different Gotham nodes. These nodes could all have independent concurrent edits to the same objects, and Nexus Peering meant that we could synchronize these edits across the network, either in real time with consistent comms, as well as across unreliable, intermittent, and disconnected environments. Nexus Peering means that you have a distributed data fabric that is survivable and resilient. The loss of any number of nodes or facilities won't impact the whole. This is a core and fundamental hard technology breakthrough that has powered Gotham's unique success across coalition information sharing for defense and intelligence agencies. And by enabling Nexus Peering to be sold as a separate capability, we can enable every program in the Department of Defense to leverage this distributed data synchronization and data fabric as we further demonstrate our own commitment to DoD's modular open systems approach. The greatest opportunity for Foundry continues to be the application development infrastructure platform. We believe that Foundry will become the place that you go to build the applications of the future. With AWS or Azure, with their highly unopinionated collection of services, most of the work remains in front of you to get to value. And all of that onus is on you, the customer, to get to that value. With Foundry, you're 90% of the way there on day one. software-defined data integration, native multi-tenancy for your applications, the OPIs, version pipelines, applications, artifacts, to just name some of the components that make Foundry work from the start. That's why U.S. Space Force's Kobayashi Maru Software Factory realized their ambition, building 13 operationally accepted applications on top of Foundry in months, while sunsetting legacy $100 million plus programs. That's why Airbus rolled out an internally developed supply chain network control tower, a suite built on top of Foundry's application development infrastructure. And this set of applications, it mitigates supply chain issues and is working towards saving hundreds of millions of euros annually by speeding up production against existing fixed capacity and reducing inventory across all parts. What AWS was in the last decade, Foundry will be in the next. Turning to the highlights in our commercial business, we added 37 net new customers in Q1. We saw continued growth in automotive, in financial services, and energy, including a new super major customer, and in life sciences. In April, we closed a renewal with a major U.S. Fortune 100 company for over $150 million. This customer hosted a hackathon with over 600 participants featuring applications built in under 4 days across finance, build planning, network resiliency, and customer experience. This was a good and telling example of how scaled customers built better on Palantir as application development infrastructure. Last quarter, we saw continued interest in our modular offerings. Hospitals need to improve operational efficiencies surrounding patient flow and staffing processes in order to decrease the length of stay and ensure patients have access to proper care. Palantir's Hospital Operations Suite has proven a unique ability to solve these problems through collaborative decision-making based on real-time data with targeted, event-driven notifications and actionable AI. Palantir's Hospital Operations Suite is now used by hospitals covering over 37,000 beds across the U.S., up from just over 1,000 on January 1st. Turning to government, as instability in the world increases, we continue to double down on our support of the missions of the West's most critical foundational institutions. Our ambition is to be the 6th prime contractor for the U.S. federal government, a trusted partner to deliver complex, end-to-end integrated hardware and software solutions, building on the legacy of programs that we prime today. But we seek to be the first company to do this as a software prime, using software innovation and our unmatched expertise to deliver new integrated hardware-software capabilities faster than the pace of conflict. In Q1, we launched our U.S. Federal Advisory Board, an important milestone in this journey. The war is not just happening on the ground in Ukraine, but also in space, and accordingly, our opportunities in the space universe continue to expand. U.S. Space Force continues to deliver new operational capabilities to America's space guardians who have set the gold standard for allies. This is leading to substantial interest in U.S. Space Force's Warp Core platform, which was built on Foundry amongst allied nations. At Space Symposium in Colorado Springs, to an audience of U.S. and allied governments, Peter Marquez, the former head of space policy at the National Security Council and the head of space policy at AWS, presented Project Argus, a new space situational awareness platform built on Foundry. We closed a £10 million enterprise expansion with the UK Royal Navy. Palantir software is used by the Royal Navy across a broad spectrum of areas, from strategic workforce planning to supply chain management. And world events have accelerated our opportunity in Western and Northern Europe. In Germany, we were awarded a framework agreement for state and federal government organizations to purchase Gotham and Foundry, with an initial order coming from the Bavarian police, adding to our existing German security customers in North Rhine-Westphalia and Hesse. Our government healthcare business grew with an expansion with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The growth of the work is reflected in the doubling of the run rate. Over the past year, while continuing to deliver on the CDC's foodborne pathogen program, which we have been powering since 2009, the CDC expanded Foundry's pathogen surveillance and response work and deployed generalized modules built on top of a common Foundry ontology against new pathogens, including measles, mumps, Legionella, and novel flu. The CDC is also using Foundry to process genetic sequence data derived from wastewater samples. On the other side of the Atlantic, our continued investments in software-defined data integration with our newest pipeline builder product continues to pay off at the NHS, where they were able to roll out Foundry to 38 hospitals, integrating hundreds of data sets in March alone to enable them to work through the national care backlog.